have here is a 4-cylinder Toyota Camry strut. Now, I'm no Toyota Camry expert, but I am pretty damn sure that 4-cylinder stuff and 6-cylinder stuff run the same set of springs. What we have here is a Grand Prix strut. As you can see, there is more spring in the strut than there is this one. You only have 1, 2, 3 coils. 1, 2, 3, 4 visible. There's always top and bottom. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it gives me an extra ring of coil. And me being a scrap guy, I know that Grand Prix weigh more than Toyota Camry. So that makes me think that these are much heavier springs to hold the extra weight of the car. I do have heavier springs, but I think they're going to be way too heavy for this application. So what we're going to do is we're going to take apart both of these coils and then put the Grand Prix springs inside of the Toyota Camry. Now this isn't generic to Grand Prix. You could put Crown Vic springs, you could put Cadillac springs. You could pretty much switch out anything that you want to fit in there. For example, I have these springs and I don't know what they're out of. Something tells me with the flat machine surfaces on both sides that they're out of a truck or a small SUV kind of application. But you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You got 9 revolutions of the spring, but they're really tall. And I don't really want to cut them down. And we will probably use these for a different project I got in the backyard to try to jack up the front of that. But basically, there's no limitations to what you can use. You can take the the mini grinder, and you can cut this back to actually fit inside of these a lot better than what it would. Or you could cut it in half and then double them up. It all works, but what we're going to do is we're going to take both of these apart. We're going to use this spring and these rubber pieces top and bottom inside of this strut, and then we will get rid of this spring and we'll get rid of the dust shield inside of that strut. So let's break these apart. To take these coil springs apart, you should use these coil spring compactors. These ones are pretty cheap ones. I believe they cost me $29.99 at Canadian Tire. You can get much fancier ones. You can even get a press to do this. Taking them apart, I like just watching them fly across the floor. 1, because it's pretty fun, and 2, it's a little bit dangerous. There's nothing wrong with being just a little bit dangerous. So let's do the Grand Prix one first, because that's the socket I have on here. 22 mil. Make sure there's nothing behind it. Get ready. See? Doesn't that look fun and dangerous? Now let's change this out to a 19 mil. Now we have our trusty 19 mil. Let's do the same thing for the Toyota Camry. Now don't hold on to the bottom while you're doing this because it will shoot your hand. Try to hold on to the top or just 2 hands on the gun. Done. Now the first thing I do is I use the Grand Prix bottom rubber absorbent. Now the reason I use this is because it does fit in there quite nicely, and this actually helps hold the spring where you want it to go. Now I just have to open up one hole and drill a new hole. Okay, so there's one hole. Now these struts are quite rusty, so if they get bent, they get bent. Okay, now insert this. Just like that. We're just going to put the Grand Prix spring over. Now, this is where it can get a little dangerous. Because of how these Toyota Camry struts are built, I can't put my $30 spring tensioners in here because the threaded rod will hit the bottom of here. And that's no good. And then once I put the top on, I can't take them off because then I can't get my gun or a wrench on the top of there. So I've come up with this really stupid way of doing this that basically scares the snot right out of me. And show you how I do it. Last time I did it, I made sure the wife was out here just to make sure that I didn't die, because it is a possibility, because these springs are huge weapons. They're compressed energy to the point where it can hurt you and damage things, damage your items. But this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do in the derby world. So what I do is I just hook the spring compressors on the bottom of the strut tower itself. Everybody's going to say how stupid this is, and I'm not going to argue with you. This is pretty stupid, but this is what I have to do. So I'm just going to go around both of them, hook them in. Now, if you guys don't feel comfortable doing this at home, don't do this. You can bring these to a local spring shop in your town or any mechanic, and they can do this for you. They're just going to charge you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull these down evenly to get this hole to spring over top of the strut tower. So let's go. As you can see, it's getting harder and harder as it comes down. I think that's far enough for right now. Let's try switching over the top. Slide this unit on. That is one reason why I do like these Grand Prix, because the factory Toyota Camry top piece does fit on right over top of the what do you call it? Camry springs. Have to go down just a bit more. Everything still looks good on those spring compressors. Now we just need to find that bolt, that 19mm bolt, put her on the top, and then tighten her down. Okay, so now I just have to spin this retaining collar, just like that. Just like that. Tighten that down a little bit more. There you go. Now I can slowly let off on these. There, you just see that clip right into place there? So there you go. We now have Grand Prix springs inside of our Toyota Camry coils. What I'm hoping this does is gives us about 2 inches of extra suspension lift, and then also makes it so that the ride has suspension, because due to our rules we're not allowed solid suspension, so it'd be nice to see if we still have all that. Let's get this installed now. we have both struts installed now. We have driver's side and passenger side. These are the factory Toyota Camry struts with Grand Prix springs in them. So we're going to measure from this body line to the top of the wheel well. We are, I'm going to say 22 7/8, and to the bottom of the fender well we are 16 7/8. So let's go outside and measure this to a Toyota that has everything underneath the hood still. So yes, this Toyota is lighter because I have removed a whole bunch of stuff that I don't need underneath the hood, but realistically what I did remove underneath here is not that much, and that bumper I'm pretty sure weighs about 120 pounds. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go outside and we're going to measure. So we are, again, those numbers are, from the top of the axle nut is 16 7/8, and we're going to say 23. So let's go outside. 16 7/8, 23. Ugh, don't need that. So this right here is the same year, roughly. And we're going to go from the top of the axle nut. We are 15 1/4. So right there, we are 1 3/4 inches higher. Oh, 1 3/8 higher. And we're like 21 there. So we're almost 2 inches higher by the time it gets to there. And that does make sense because some of these body lines may be screwed up on that one. And this is also a 4-cylinder automatic as well. And it still has a lot of the stuff underneath the hood, and it has the factory bumpers. So by putting the Grand Prix struts in there, I'm going to say we got ourselves about 2 inches of height, and it still passes everybody's rules. I still have movement in my suspension, but that works for me, I guess. Alright guys, so that's how I lifted the front of this car. Thanks for watching. If you guys have different ways, I was thinking about doing solid suspension, but the problem with that is solid suspension, I can't run at a lot of events around here, and I'm not really sure where this car is going to be ran yet. So I'd rather just leave my options open and run non-solid suspension. And I don't know, inch and a half, 1 3/4 is good enough for me. Gives me that extra height. Like I said, this one here is 15 1/4, and the other one I'm 16 7/8. So that puts this right about there on the other one. Gives me about an extra inch of bumper height, and I'm happy with that. Take care, guys, and see you tomorrow.